Dear friends, dear visitors at DCX Expo, we come to the last chapter of this year's first content services stage. So I hope to get all those guys from the guided tour to join us, but that may be futile. To those who have already listened to all the presentations in our set, a lot of the people we'll find in this panel will be known to you, but we have as well some new faces in our panel. So what I will do is a short introduction. I learned when discussing with visitors and other people here that we were using a lot of acronyms and tech talk and names and functionality nobody is familiar with. Sorry for that. That's always a little bit industry specific, that each industry has its own nomenclature, its own taxonomy. Sorry, the taxonomy guide is no longer here. But we will try in our panel session to sort all the stuff out which we discussed earlier today. For those who are here first time, my name is Ulrich Kampffmeyer. I'm Managing Director of Project Consult, and I'm the host of this year's Content Services stage. That means we organize together with the social platform XING these sessions on Tuesday, today, and tomorrow. And as I mentioned earlier, acronyms and technical terms dominate our industry. A lot of confusion nowadays, and all the questions I received today from end users is, oh, what to do with this stuff, where to head to. Today in this panel session, we could talk about industry terms for those who had not enough. Well, I have a fair selection of all the terms which appeared today. I think we missed some of these. Did we already talk about robot process automation? Well, that's a new term coming up in the US, robot process automation. In the past, we called that workflow. And we have some DMS written there, which is document management systems, and we have content services platforms. We will need some explanations on this. And we missed a little bit the term digital workplace 4.0. I don't understand people buying software .0. Everybody waits at least to .2 or .3. We could talk as well about the ITC trends influencing information management. In the 4 talks, we had a lot of these influences. We had a short glimpse on blockchain. We had a longer glimpse on artificial intelligence. We talked a little bit about the problems of enterprise search and such stuff. But there are a lot of terms which, well, had the headlines of all the newspapers here, like consumerization, security issues, digital transformation, by the way, a much better term than digitization. Digitization is simply scanning. Okay. We had some ideas on Internet of Things. We talked about marketing automation, but everything moves in the direction of new work. What will work look like in the future? And we could go one step further. We could look on the general developments reshaping our analog and digital world and discuss a little bit around privacy, information society, globalization, information overflow, dependency on the availability of information, energy, fake news, digital humanity, leaks, whatever my colleagues love to discuss with me. I asked them for some statements which may form something like a guideline for the discussion so that everybody gets a topic which he likes, at least once. But the question is, who is we? And so I want to introduce my guests today. First one is Dr. Olaf Holst. Olaf, where are you? Chief Technology Evangelist. You made it in time. You're standing here, that's great. And Olaf sent me the statement, though we have changed the acronyms for our business from DMS over ECM to content services, we still have to answer the same question. Well, about answering question was a presentation by Richard. How can we deliver helpful solutions? Well, there's a new approach for ECM, helpful solution. Well, we should discuss that. For our organization that will last longer than 3 to 5 years and are accepted by the users. Well, if we go to preservation, we're talking about retention periods of 300 years. So 3 to 5 years, okay. If you like, we'll discuss this. Then I have the honor to introduce my long-term friend, Hans Köhler-Krüner. He is Managing Vice President for Content, Insight and Legal with Gartner Group. And it's always a pleasure to get one of the most important analysts here on stage who is accompanying our industries for over 10 years, 20 years. We know each other for 30 years, I think, something like that. And he's the one, he's guilty, formally he's guilty, for content services, which is the topic of this event here. And he sent me a quite different statement, not telling Uli, everybody must now follow the new banner for content services, but he means technology will not solve the underlying challenge of information overload without some significant changes in how we see content and its value. I build you a bridge for changes. ECM is now Enterprise Change Management, which is important. And Hans thinks that new tech will add more information, more complexity, but also more opportunities to fail. Normally in conferences we talk about the successes of implementations. And you come around and say, well, all the stuff is to have a better feeling than failing. Well, we discuss it a little bit further on. So, next friend of mine, Greg Milligan, who took the long travel from Austin, Texas to talk to us. Great presentation, it was the first one in our set. Greg is with M-Files, one of the leading suppliers internationally of, Intelligent Information Management. You use the term ECM, Enterprise Content Management. I think there was even a slide which said EIM, Enterprise Information Management, but that was Olaf. There must be editorial problem with your autocorrection. The statement of Greg is information management. Thank you. We're talking about information management. Specifically, the effectiveness which with an organization does it is key to creating competitive advantage. I think we are telling this for 40 years, but haven't reached everybody with this message. So how information is managed, for example, organized, secured, processed, tracked, impacts almost everything a business does. Those who don't go for digitization or digital transformation will be outdated, gone, lost. Those who come late, we know this. We had examples, I think, in your presentation. So, last not least, we welcome Richard Reed. Richard was a guy with artificial intelligence, how to produce snippets where his software can automatically create not only articles, but complete newspapers, which will add some stretch to the other hall where the IFRA printing guys are around. Well, you didn't know what you do here with this presentation. Well, you poked in the middle of the newspaper with this approach to atomize and to make small knowledge snippets. No, they're not used to this. No, they want to unfold paper. Sorry. So you haven't found a lot of friends in the other hall. So the statement of Richard is, you'll need more of analytics, artificial intelligence, and semantics to access the value of information. And, well, today. It's not far off. We're just in the middle of this process. So, last not least, Murat hadn't the chance to give a presentation today because he didn't phone with me early enough. Welcome. Murat works with SER International. He's a managing director, and SER is one of the few German vendors who have some international reputation. Oh, sorry, Olaf. That's okay with you. You're working on that. You will have the chance to have a drink afterwards on this. So, his statement is, the digital workspace should be on the top of every leader's agenda, as digital content and processes are crucial for the success of any business. He copied this from Greg.
He copied from me.
I distributed the presentations in advance. So, content services platforms providers are shifting from the age of collecting content to the age of knowing content. That's you copied from Richard. Well, the good story behind this is the industry really evolved. This is not the old-time industry of electronic archival. This is not the industry of preservation. This is not the industry of only records management any longer. But all the four presentations showed lots of innovation. From SEUM, from M-Files, from OpenText was not here, but Optimal Systems was here. And from EASY, which had no chance to join tonight. So, what we're going to do is try to bring all the different lines together so that we make up some sense for everybody. So the discussion will be on ECM, Enterprise Content Management, on content services, on intelligent information management, digital workplace. Sorry for all these terms. Nobody knows it, but these terms come from your statements. Well, there was some guy who said, well, I'm going for workplace. There were other guys here, I'm going for intelligent information management. And there were other guys who said, well, ECM is not dead. And so we have to get out of this hole to reach a new shore. And so please all welcome my guests, and we hope to have a very great afternoon with you. So now we are in line with the original time plan. It's 4 o'clock. My introduction has ended, and well, I can now become nasty. My first question goes to Hans. Why did you kill ECM? What was the reason?
Because it was already dead.
Who did?
It was already dead.
Who said this?
Me. What we noticed over the last 3 to 4 years is that ECM as a term, strategy, methods, tools, was not really something that the client was looking for. They were looking for solutions. They were looking for answers to problems, business problems. So we looked at what are vendors doing, what are clients asking, and we said, well, we need to take these things apart. We have platforms that look after unstructured content. We have platforms that look after structured content. What we need is a strategy over the top of that that doesn't limit itself to only one part of that. So what we basically did was we say content services platforms, that's for the unstructured content. I know, he's already shaking his head.
So I don't leave you out of your self-made trap, my friend.
And then the structured content sits over there, and then you have a strategy over the top of that that touches both.
Well, that's information management. We can talk about that later.
That is information management.
Yes, that's information management. But I think you mentioned the definition of EIM 20 years ago, which it's about strategies, it's about methods. I believe most of the vendors didn't understand this concept. They were thinking in tools, they were thinking in products, and not that you need an overall strategy for governance, for managing information. So what was really the reason behind it? Because you might have lost clients who paid in the past for the ECM quadrant, and now you drive them into content services, which is about functionality, that is in the somewhere in the underground, which is about technology. You're saying the end users do not ask for this, they ask for solutions, and you come up with technical services.
It's funny because every time I have this discussion, I've had it many times since we posted that blog post, as you well know, the same misunderstanding comes up across a number of different things. I mean, one of the things that Gartner does is produce this magic quadrant, which is not a technology overview. It is a market overview. How well do vendors understand what the clients need? How well do they perform on their plans? And how well do their technologies meet both current as well as future visionary content? That's the whole evaluation. What most people, because it's not a single pretty picture, what most people don't look at is that there is usually a companion document called Critical Capabilities, which looks at use cases. 5, 6, 7 typical use cases that clients have where we evaluate products. So that's the difference between the two. And again, I repeat what I said. We on purpose split technologies from strategy because, like you saw in my statement, it's not about the technology. It's about the information that this technology holds. It doesn't matter where it goes, whether we use Richard's artificial intelligence or Greg's, metadata layer, it's still the same thing. It's documents.
That's what I'm saying. It's still the same thing. Another label is a question. But I wanted directly to address
and by the way,
Greg.
Nobody has ever paid for being in a magic quadrant.
Okay. Greg, you are in the magic quadrant.
Yes, we are.
You are in there. In your presentation, you talked about ECM. You talked about content services, you talked about intelligent information management, you talked about information management, you talked about workflows, you had every of these terms in your slides. So how do you feel to be part of this quadrant about content services, which is not understand, like Hans did say? Where do you position yourself?
Well, first, Hans and his team have my sympathy because it's hard to classify this market. But I can't say I'm in love with the content services description for the reasons that you pointed out. That the shocking thing to me in this industry is that one of the dilemmas we find is that so many companies still don't see this as mandatory. Mm-hmm. It's like an optional thing. It's something, whereas a CRM they see as fundamentally mandatory. So I don't know, part of that is demystifying it, I think, making it more accessible to people. And I'm not sure that goes in the direction of making it more accessible. And I'm not sure I have the answer to what makes it more accessible to more people.
Bring it down to the point.
Dilemma we have.
Do you and your end user customers, financial departments or case management, do they ask you, I want to buy a content services product from Enterprise? Do they ask you this?
More often it's happening. There is traction.
Is it the techies or is it really the people who do the work?
More the techies, I would say, but there is traction in the term. And I'll have to say, while I wasn't attracted to it at first, I'm coming around. you know? So, but you're making a good point. That isn't an explicit request. I can't even necessarily say that ECM was as much of a common request, quite honestly. Is that not shocking?
Yeah.
Document management might have been a common request.
I think Olaf disagrees with what you're saying.
No, absolutely not. I remember 2016 in Stuttgart when I thought there is no ECM business. I think the definition in that block was more or less like an earthquake for us, because what we're doing now is thinking about our technology to open them up. Before we thought about legacy building blocks of technology locked away from all the others, not open to extension from other services.
From competitor services.
Competitor, yeah, sure.
Sure.
Of course, that's the idea behind it. But we do signature service on our own. We do import services on our own. We do all that crazy stuff on our own, spend a huge amount of development power on that. And now we open it up. We use an open source framework. We use open source technology. We have fully extensible backend platforms. And if there's somebody coming and say, hey, I need a structure service, or I need an artificial intelligence service to sort my documents, great, wonderful. He can buy it. He could put it in on itself. If he said, I need a low-code or no-code environment, cool, he can use a client or something like that. But we are already there where we should be before. You said enterprise application integration. We can achieve that now. We have now technology that is open to everybody, that can be adjusted and altered by the customer itself. He doesn't have to spend so much money on customization and the other stuff. It's sexy, it's fast, it's cloud-ready, it's future-proof. So the best thing ever happened to our industry. Say ECM is dead.
Yeah, I think
still we have an ECM solution, by the way, but we have to rename it.
Yes, IECM or something like that.
Yeah.
You wanted to ask her, Grit?
I was just going to agree. I thought that was a service to the industry to stake the claim and make it as controversial as it was, just to say that old way is not going to work anymore.
Well, Murat, I think SER is coming from a nearly 30-year legacy of projects in Germany, where you were used to terms like workflow, archiving, document management, capture, which are really solutions for end users. Yes, and now you are forced by the market to position yourself as well as content services offering, or how do you think about this?
I mean, I can remember the conversations I had with Hans 3-4 years ago about, let's say, shifting from ECM to content services. For me, this shift was recognized. I had just, I think, a small comment to Hans like, okay, after 20 years, the industry now found its place, the umbrella, and now we are changing.
We killed this umbrella.
But for me, neither ECM nor content services is something which is required from the market. So
is it easier to sell content services solutions?
I agree with Greg, so that nobody is asking for content services. So having a look into the different markets, the impression I have is always that it is more and more shifting to the end user decisions, which means that the business applications makes the difference. And having a look into our industry, the thing which I see is that our industry contains of content, right? Comparing it to the ERP and CRM market, which is clearly an application. In our industry, we're having a lot of applications, contract management, invoice processing, and all these things. And this is why we are always looking for acronyms, but it's about content and it's about a service. So I'm fine with that. But the market is asking from a different perspective.
Yes, probably we are talking about different services. When Gartner is talking often to very large enterprises worldwide, and vendors like yourself or SER have a lot of experience with small-size, mid-size companies who obviously used other terminology. And I think they will go for document management and such stuff as well in the future. Or do you have another impression?
No, they ask for business value. They don't ask for technology. That was all of us agree about. They come to say we need a solution for, I don't know, field services like we learned before, our vendor management or HR or something like that, and they don't care about the technology. They care about technology at the point where they ask for integration. and the easiness of the integration and the sexiness of the application itself. But before, they don't ask for technology. Nobody asked for ECM solutions. They said, what are you doing? And I always said, we are doing archiving, document management, and business process management. In my sales pitches, I never used ECM because nobody understood what I was talking about. So yeah, we just get rid of an acronym that nobody understood.
Olaf, are we now in the same danger as in the past, that we have some new banners, some oriflamme for the industry, which is not understood, not even by vendors in the same way, not by the end users if we introduce content services as a term?
I don't think so, because the question customers ask is that what all of the big analyst companies in the world just claim? It's customer experience and user experience. That's what it's all about. So software has to be a good thing for the customer experience. So it has to bring in value, and they don't care about the acronym. Just content service platform is a good description, because platform intrinsically means it's open. So that's why it's good and everybody understands it. And when you come to cloud and community and all these other stuff, it's a need to have a platform or framework or whatever you call it. But I think the thing customers talk about is customer experience and user experience, not about ECM or CSP or you asked transactional content service, business context service for Forrester.
That's Forrester.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
Forrester. They're not here.
I don't know. if you have a look at the vendors, it's the same in both waves. So yeah, hey.
So next time I will bring Cheryl McKinney on this place. But I think we are still in the marketing terminology of vendors. And I want to ask again, Hans, do you have the feeling that every vendor of these topics like information management, ECM, or how you call it, is jumping with really, I love it, onto your new wagon?
Yes. I think we should ask Richard a question as well, but
yes,
they do.
Richard will have his turn, but Richard is smiling all the time because he left all this terminology behind and said, I'm going for knowledge management, I'm going for information management, go for artificial intelligence. He is somewhere where some of your competitors are not today.
I love that. Because, of course, knowledge management and artificial intelligence are such clear terms that everybody knows exactly what they are about.
No.
Exactly. So
remember 2000, where we were on the CeBIT, where we had this display of a scanner which read on its label, this is a device for knowledge management.
Oh, and
great idea.
And we spent many years going to the DMSEXPO, and all the DMS systems, document management systems, became a knowledge management system when that became cool for a couple of years, and then they went back to ECM. And so
now they become content services systems. And CSSS, did you already mark this acronym?
No, we haven't got CSSS yet, but that's a very good idea. We'll think about that. I think this industry has always looked for a label, and we've always not really felt ourselves as a cohesive unit. I know you said that years ago at DMSEXPO, that we're not really an industry. And I think that's why I had my opening statement, where I really want to get away from, and we do this really well as an industry, all of us here, is we do spend a lot of time navel gazing, looking at our own problems, loving the problems. What we don't really do is look at the audience out there and say, what's your problem?
Taxonomy.
Yeah, well, we know that. Oh, yeah, that's right, yes. Please don't ask about it. I love taxonomies by polyhierarchical. Patrick Lamb, great work. But so we can have a chat afterwards. But I think we don't spend enough time saying, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Because they all have different problems. And how do we deliver something based on whatever content we hold that supports that? We've always said content is about 80% of all the stuff that we hold in an organization. We've always said 90% of that is unmanaged, which means 72% of all the information will never make it to what Richard does, because we don't even know what it is, where it is, and what it means to the organization. I want us to go away from that navel gazing. I want us to say, how do we create value from the 72% of stuff that we don't know what it is.
Other persons talk then in this context about, well, let's do data maps, let's do information landscapes. The real bad feeling in my gut is content even still the right term for us? Or
No.
please use your microphone. Nobody will understand you if you say no.
No, sure, it's not content, it's information. We're talking about information in any kind of, you said IoT. For instance, I just was at Congress, people were talking about IoT, and they said cloud is not enabled for IoT because it's too much information. If you put all this data into Amazon Cloud, it will break down. So we're talking about a new stuff like edge computing, doing the calculation outside the cloud. So, yeah, but it's about information. It's all about information and their representation and how we can make these information usable for the business processes that all the users get value from it. And we never did that before. We just built viewers to show a document somewhere on a tablet, and not to represent information in the kind the user really needs.
You never cared about your end users, Olaf.
No,
What have you been doing
honestly
in
not.
25 years?
That's what Hans said. That's correct. We thought we know the problems of the market. So we built software to solve the problems we see for the customers. And maybe they don't have the customers. But then we go to a customer and we use the term, an American president used it. Yes, we can. If you have a problem, yes, we can. We can solve it. And we built a huge pile of software and complicated software around it to solve any problem they could have. And now we go back, we step back and say we have an easier technology, we can represent information, we can make it open to all the others. So I really think that's a step forward we never had in that business.
That is really strange. Really, my question to these vendors is, what did you do the last 25 years? Richard, by the way, we have here three guys from the industry which called themselves in the past, we are part of the ECM industry. Did you ever feel to be part of this, or do you following it quite different way?
Is this thing working? Yeah. Okay. I started in the 90s. I started in AI.
Please speak to the microphone.
Okay. I started in the 90s. I started in AI. AI, for various reasons, was not reasonable in those days, not doable. So then I quickly jumped onto document management and content management and knowledge management and blah, 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 blah. So it's gone further out on two sides of the ocean. And so I've had a lot of experiences in front of the customers with all of this terminology. And all I can say is with the company that I am in right now, we are very used to not fitting onto the map in a bubble. And so there's a bubble here with document management, and a bubble here with content management, and a bubble here with knowledge management, and database systems, and Internet of Things. And there are always bubbles. And when you first go to a customer, sometimes they want to know, where do you fit on this map? And, well, we never fit on the map. It's just, you learn to live with that. But what there is for the initial connection with the customer is the customer wants to know, where are you? Or, I know I need this thing, where is it on the map? And how do I find the people who are the most important contributors in that area? So I think, my opinion on this, what Gartner has done by creating these bubbles is okay, because it helps customers find the solution providers that they need to be speaking with. And that alone in an overflooded market with vendors is very difficult. Of course, you can't change things from one year to the next. Everybody will get lost. So the process is very slow. And I think it started, first it was content management and document management. And those things are both dead ducks. They have been for quite a long time. The last time I heard a customer talk about enterprise content management was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Nobody ever talks about this stuff anymore. They're looking for something else. I think an evolutionary nature of saying, okay, we've got content services and we pick up the cadaver, we pick up the dead bodies and we put them in this lump, and now it's something a little bit new. It helps people find, I need something in this business process area, I can talk with these people. But then they don't talk with us about their content services. It's just a way of, it's like the yellow pages, it's a way of finding the right people to talk with. I would venture to bet that knowledge management is going to be the next dead body that's pulled into this group, and the group will have to be renamed, and that's going to happen probably in a few years.
Do you need an industry label at all?
I think it helps customers find the people to talk with, but I think beyond that, I think it's not so good to hold up the flag and say, we are this, because the customer, like Olaf was saying, let's just talk about what the customer's problems are. and how we're going to solve them. But I think finding the customer and for the customer to find us, it's important to have some sort of banner. And we normally don't fly under a banner at all. So we have to go find our own customers, which we do. But of course, if you're trying to build a bigger and bigger business really quickly, it helps. And I think it is reasonable. Yeah, but I think positioning it as we are a content services technology is not the right way to go.
So everybody here is moving to new frontiers to find new shores. But when I remember M-Files or SER or OS Optimal Systems, you came from archiving, you did scanning, you worked with PDFs. Richard, will you kill with your new approach of atomization and artificial intelligence the businesses of all these three?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, because these three are providing the knowledge that is an input to Theum, and it doesn't matter how they do it. We're blind to the sources. But about PDF, that's an interesting question. I know the PDFs, we do the atomization in a PDF as well. So when you have knowledge that's available, you don't need the PDF readers and all of that anymore.
You raised a good question. Is it, or was it, knowledge which was stored in these repositories? Most of the vendors here in our panel started with a traditional architecture of having an index database which points to objects like documents, lists, and scanned images, faxes, and some stuff. And you were very provocative. I don't think if everybody notices here when you said, we don't need any databases any longer. That is their core strategy to access documents. Could you please explain a little bit more what you mean?
We don't need to access the databases. We don't need to access the storage locations from our perspective. You don't need to ask users to access the storage locations where documents are kept. You can give them the knowledge without giving them the systems and the documents themselves. The documents slow them down. So giving them the knowledge without giving them the documents is a very fast accelerator in a company. And I know we've had some customers where one of the big problems is the end users don't want to go into SharePoint. They have to learn SharePoint. It's as simple as that. That requires unscalable user training across the organization. And if you have a content store, it doesn't matter what it's for. If all of the end users have to go in there, then they have to learn it. Is that reasonable? Is that scalable? When they could just access a website and their stuff is there and they know how to browse a website on every device.
Yeah, okay. I think, Murat, in the past, SER even had its own database, if I remember the legacy. And databases are some core business of ECM vendors still. What is your approach about artificial intelligence? You had not the chance to talk about new solutions here. Every other had artificial intelligence on his slides, and I give you now the chance to put artificial intelligence on your slide.
As you stated already, it seems like that I have copied something from Richard or from Greg, but it's I'm just reflecting what I'm getting from the market, right? So it's never the question about what database you're using. Maybe techies are talking about that, but if it comes to use cases, so what the user wants to have and what kind of benefit it brings, they want to know. They want to know what is inside their organization, the risk, things which we have heard today. And artificial intelligence is the other side of the medal where you're saying, that's a bright topic, artificial intelligence. At the moment, we are on the edge from shifting, from collecting to knowing, right? So bringing content in context in a right moment. And we are in the early stage here. So whatever
but does it mean, Murat, that you still stick to the old architectures with the database managing the indexes, or do you see changes
as you might have seen over the last years, we have made a major shift, right? And we are moving away from selling the big box more to selling use cases. So use cases, and use cases. So, and Here we're having various of different use cases. So nobody's asking for document management, ECM, or whatever. Content services. It is about a service. I think we have seen today a very interesting slide from Olaf, where in future we are talking about different services. So DocuSign is providing a signature service, right? Some others will bring maybe contract services, right? Some others will bring invoice processing services.
But these are not microservices as both proclaimed.
No, but they will shift into that direction. So, and the big players, and here making the comparison to the US colleagues, is that they are moving in that direction. So, and us here, we need to rethink in what we are doing, right? In towards services, towards use cases. And
well, there could be two consequences of this. One could be, well, we are all waiting as the former ECM industry that will come
we are
up,
not waiting.
that there, you're still on IECM, I know this, okay, I have all your brochures. But there could be two strategies. One could be, well, sit there, not in the way you intend to be, and wait that the big shots like SAP, like the big cloud players come up with a set of good APIs. We all know interoperability in the cloud is still a huge mess. So your solutions will become part of this mess as well. Or will you stick together with your colleagues and say, well, let's sit together and create some standards for content-oriented APIs so that we can work together? What would be your strategy then?
My answer to your previous question was not to sit and to wait. It is to consider other players in future. With all the respect to my colleagues here, but there are other players in different other markets which are coming also to Europe and to our markets, which having a much larger possibility in executing, let's say, services. And this is what I'm talking about. So, and they are coming from a complete different angle, not from our typical historical approach. They're coming from, let's take Amazon, for example.
Okay, well,
So
Amazon and Google set the interfaces for your APIs in the future?
I mean, Amazon is known as, for most of the consumers, as the biggest online shop in the world, but it is also the biggest data center service provider in the world and developing own products, own software products.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I'm saying, just to consider them as well as potential competition in the future. So we need to rethink and not just to stick on our historical approach. This is what I'm saying.
Before I give the word to Hans, one question to Olaf. Will it in the future be more necessary to have an interface to Echo than to SAP?
That's a good question. I don't think so. You have to have both. And I think there's one mistake. Sorry to say that, to just say, will there be a set of APIs? And that's the failure. There has to be one API first. So software has to be development under the premise of API first. So as long as there's not each and every function covered by a fully documented and usable API, if you have to have a client API, a server API, a search API, whatever, it's not a future-proof product. So
we had Corba. We had Corba.
Yeah, sure. That's yeah, okay. We had we had SOA and we have SOAP and we have I don't care.
SOA was never an interface.
That's our problem. That's the zoo you mentioned, that we have different approaches to a software. So I guess that's the basic problem, that we did not develop the software from scratch, most of us. We just added some APIs and functions and features, and that are some, let's say, hidden functions only used by the vendor, and it's not fully documented. So a software that is cloud ready has to be developed from scratch for the cloud. Yes. That means API first approach. That means headless operation. It can have low code, no code development environments, but it's to answer your question, we need both. We need the API for connection to digital assistants, and we need the API for connection to SAP. And even SAP is learning, and they're bringing one API for their Hybris platform.
Olaf, that was a very long and interesting speech. My question was, is it in the future more important for a so-called former ECM vendor to have an interface to Echo or to SAP?
It's no difference. It's the same interface. When we do it right, it's the same API. So
Does SAP know this?
I'm quite sure they know, yeah. If you talk to them, that's their strategy.
Hans, what is your view as a renowned analyst to all these opinions? Bring it down.
I think lots of really good opinions, and I think lots of valuable insight. I think one of the things I really like about what Richard said, not fitting into a bubble, is actually there used to be a bubble called component content management, which didn't go anywhere. And you've taken two things, breaking down the paradigm of a document into its fragments and adding artificial intelligence to it to then create something new, which is a fascinating thing. I think some of the things that we are overlooking here, as we look at ourselves as content services, enterprise content services, whatever we call ourselves as an industry, is that our true competitors are not we are.
No, they are not on this stage.
They're not on this stage. They're Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Those are our real
you
competitors.
Forgot the Chinese ones. Alibaba.
Yeah.
Tencent. Well, there's a lot of stuff outside which is out of our focus, which might overrun us. So,
absolutely. I mean, Amazon already has all the capabilities and possibilities in AWS to manage documents, to serve documents, to index documents, to create multiple interfaces, to get things going like that. If they were really going to go for this market, and we know Jeff Bezos' strategy for going quick and going in, hard when he wants to and see whether things stick, it might put several of us out of business because we just can't scale to that level. I think I go back to, we need to take the discussion away from, what are our features and functions, because I am pretty sure, apart from our own colleagues sitting in the audience, nobody here cares about the features and functions. You care about what does the product do for you. How does it make your life easier? How does it make your life better? One subject we have not talked about, I hope it's on your talk list, is the digital workplace.
We'll come to that later.
Workplace of the future. I think we're missing a big opportunity there.
Yes. To keep this a little bit streamlined, we have been talking about e-invoicing. We all know that one of the companies who sends out most of the invoices worldwide to partners and so on is Amazon. Why do we talk about national standards for e-invoicing when there's Amazon? Does these standardizations by legislations, by the EU, by governmental services do help us, or is that as well a street with a dead end? It's to you. You are the analyst, not me.
Yeah, fair point. It's an interesting discussion as far as sometimes it seems fairly pointless. Especially in Germany, we have a great tendency, and you may not hear it, but I am German too, of trying to figure out something like Zugpferd, and we had the qualified digitale Signatura, and all these sort of things, which really at the end of the day were a huge waste of time, because you're right, Amazon doesn't care. It just sends us a PDF or we download it from their website, and no tax office.
Structured data as well available if you want it.
No tax office is going to say no to an Amazon invoice when it comes to, just reducing your VAT right from the beginning. So I think we sometimes, again, navel gazing. We love the problem, but we don't.
Oh, we created even to be able to love it.
In those particular cases, I agree. We even created some of the problems that we could have done without. We could have spent more time on customer experience, about employee experience, about getting how people work with information correct, rather than looking at, another vendor, another feature, another functionality, and changing that button from blue to red and thinking suddenly everything will be okay.
Yeah. I want to shift a little bit, not to workplace now, but to another question which you raised and which will be of interest for all of you and so I will give you the same question. My question is, everybody is talking about cloud. We get into a dependency of vendors. Well, that's one thing. That's contracting. That's about trust. But we really have the problem that the infrastructure of the internet, especially in Germany, is at its edge. There's so much rubbish information going over the lines that, especially if it comes to 8K films.
You mean edge
Well,
is the fastest
yes,
you ever get on your mobile phone?
we are reaching some technology edge. So what is your opinion in regard to cloud? Everybody is saying, well, we move into cloud, it's much easier, you pay what you use, you need no updates, it's modern, you have nice APIs and so on. Will there be technical restrictions to cloud, especially in Germany? You're the first, Olaf.
Honestly, if you look at what people are doing, they don't move to the cloud with native cloud software. They do infrastructure as a service, so they move their virtual machines into a data center in the cloud to save money on their own infrastructure. That's not cloud.
That's classical outsourcing.
That's not cloud technology. That's software as a service somewhere in the data center. If it comes to the point of native cloud installations, we still have a lot of questions to answer and a lot of problems to solve. Even Microsoft has its own cloud for Office 365 and for Azure. So they are combined by a set of APIs, but it's not the same technology. That's why Microsoft stopped the German cloud, for instance, because it was always 2 releases behind the international cloud. So
More expensive and less functionality. That's another story.
Yeah, I think from the security point, it's a question everybody has to answer for itself. If you give your vital company sales data to a supplier like Salesforce, you don't have to care about a cloud solution because all your company data is already there. So I don't care. I think security is not the problem. It's just in our head. And I said Gartner made the prediction of in 5 years, 80% of all software is running in the cloud. I thought it was a prediction from your company. I think they're quite right. Maybe it's 70%, but the move is not stoppable to a cloud solution. But from our point of view, it has to be native software. It is not a movement of infrastructure into a cloud. That's not the solution.
Okay, Murat, will you sell only software in the cloud in the future? What does your customer want?
Cloud is also one of the topics which is like ECM or content services acronym. So,
but everybody knows it, everybody talks about it. Content services is not known, but cloud, everybody knows.
Yeah, they're just expecting that it runs. It runs in the cloud or on premise. So as a solid vendor, you need to provide both. And there are some limitations here from a legal perspective. I'm pretty sure that it will be a hybrid model. So it will be on-premise for important content, high confidential content, and light content in the cloud for cheap and quick services. And you have a look to Russia, for example. You have by law, you're not allowed to put content somewhere into the cloud outside the country, otherwise your service will be shut down. So you need to be able to support both ways.
How do we know where the cloud is? Probably the primary instance is in that country, but if you look on security networks like from the big ones like Amazon, Microsoft as well, they distribute the information worldwide to be sure that they still keep the information. So how will we make this differentiation? Information has to stay only in one physical place. This is against the concept of virtualization and against the concept of cloud to expect that information has to be in one place.
Okay, so I mean, our cloud service is running on Amazon because this is, let's say, the most flexible infrastructure which is available in the market. And our customers can decide where they want to store their content.
And your customers accept that it's an S3 Amazon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is even an advantage if you are supporting that.
Well, as well, financial companies, insurance company, public sector, they accept?
Yes, they are accepting. There's one exception. I mean, I made the example with Russia. So we would need to provide then support of Yandex, for example, instead of Amazon. But it's in the end the same concept like Amazon. So I think Amazon is even an advantage to support that.
So Amazon might be as well one platform for the universal interface we're looking for. Greg, is it this way? You have as well cloud solutions worldwide? Would Amazon be the common platform with standard interfaces for you as well?
Well, we're actually on Azure. So
You're on Azure?
Yes.
Who else is on Azure? Ah, you're on Azure. We'll talk to you in a minute.
But not necessarily because of a decision to exclude Amazon, more because of some benefits we got out of the Microsoft stack and all of that. But, one thing I would say to your bigger question, we are very hybrid as well, because we believe that both options have to be there. Maybe that's as much a reflection of the market and the demand as it is our own desire that it be that way. But if you look at the arc of history, my belief is that one of the deciding factors that should help us make that guess is how does it impact the user? And if it's easier and more accessible to them, that's the arc that we will follow. And there are all the challenges of, is it in this state, nation states boundaries and that, but I think rather than the cloud figuring out or the technology figuring out how to adapt to that, people are going to figure out how to adapt to that other reality. And that's led by people. And if people can get to what they want easier, I mean, we all have that experience. You get on your phone, I can jump right on, I can get to anything mobile. That's just better than being locked into some place that's, and I also liken it to banking. We probably all had some resistance to putting our money and our stuff up in the cloud and are getting access or mobile deposits and all of that. But we've come around to it, and it's clearly a better way. And ironically, underneath, it's more secure often. It's geo-located or backed up or duplicated. So I'm not here making a strong case to say we religiously go for the cloud, because quite honestly, a lot of what we do is on premises still. But we see the momentum in that direction.
Richard, I think cloud has as well the opportunity for deduplication, if you have it in one. Deduplication of information, get rid of all the rot stuff if you have it in one place, because cloud often is sold as having it in one place. The old idea where you said, well, it makes no longer sense why we have a lot of repositories. Does it make more sense for your business model to sell in-house solutions or to go directly to the cloud and, for example, offer it as a free service to get millions of customers?
It's a question in time. What we see right now in Germany, most of our customers are in Germany, is they still have the thinking, these are our valuable corporate processes and our valuable corporate knowledge, and there's no way we're going to put it in the cloud. It's still the mentality here as a general rule. But we see in other countries and also in the US, they don't have any problem with it anymore. They realize that it can be just as secure as what's at home, and it'll be a lot less IT effort. And here, every time, every installation, it's a big mess with the IT network locally, and the companies are trying to get away from this. I think in general for the cloud, it's an important future that can't be dismissed at all from the point of view of having knowledge access services and knowledge contribution services. This is where it's all going, and it could be various technologies and various vendors underneath. But which cloud is being used is also one important, because you might have some people in a certain area of the world where they need to have certain servers and they're offered there at a certain price, and okay, they want to use the Google Cloud.
But Olaf showed a graph that only 1/3 of the world population has access, 50% has internet.
As I said, it's a question in time. It's a question in time. Now, there are certain realities with the cloud, but the way it will continue to develop has to be getting away from everybody having their own individual sandbox, because it's just a mess and it's not scalable. So eventually it will get into platform-based services more and more, and the politicians, it's a political problem. They need to fix that problem.
So let's come to our last general topic, which was raised by Olaf, work. You talked about workplace. Is workplace still a desk? Is it still a room? Is it work itself? What will be work in the future if we continue with automation? Will there be work for humans? Or do you think only in this piece of software where people work with? Right.
Honestly, I don't know. So I'm quite sure there will be work for a human in the future, but I don't know how the workplace will look like. For me, I work everywhere I am in a train, in a plane, at home, in the office. I have all the data and access I need on my iPad or on my notebook, so I don't care.
But what is work? What means work then?
No, work is just finishing the things I have to do to make
Who
them.
tells you what to do? Is it your boss, your own boss, or is it some piece of software? It is your in-basket with tasks you have to fill today, otherwise they are escalated to your boss?
That's a pretty good question for me, because currently I decide on my own. No, my job is to make optimal systems more known in the world. So I don't know what I have to do. Maybe next week. So maybe I go to a conference, or I will be in another panel discussion, or I do another vlog, or I do another post, or I have a presentation with a customer. I really don't know, and I don't care. As long as I run around the path, getting the task done to make us more known in the world, to get us better reputation. That's my job. So I can tell you
you're
if I need an office for that.
You're in an industry for 30 years. You're selling workflow systems, BPM systems.
Yeah.
I think you use your software yourself in your company.
Absolutely, for everything.
Great. Did it help you the last years?
Yeah, sure. I don't have any paper documents to carry around. I have access to all necessary information I need. So I'm not used to work on paper anymore. Even for writing down some notes, I do that electronically. Since the first day I could buy a palm, you know, these palm.
Yes,
that was really, life was beginning for me from the business side, because I don't have to use paper anymore. I could route my appointments in that digital electronic assistant, they call it at that time. So that's where I started working completely digital. My wife, for instance, is using a notebook and a calendar on paper. She says, I don't need electronic devices, I don't care.
She needed to throw it at you?
Sometimes.
Sometimes,
yeah.
good. But Richard has a great theory on this, killing all the traditional documents, dissolving these documents, putting everything, you said in your last slide, in systems so that the items, the information snippets can be used by other software. Does it change the general model of work that we design software systems, that other software systems can work with this information, where in the past, man did the work?
I see a general paradigm change. I see in the web a paradigm change toward a desire to no longer access documents, to access knowledge. So you have knowledge is like Morad had said, the change from collecting knowledge to sending it out or using knowledge. It's knowledge access services, knowledge contribution services. And those knowledge access services, there would be pools of theme-specific knowledge that can automatically be turned on based on the query. And in the cloud, this thing would spread out. And then it could be a user accessing these pools of knowledge, or a system like a tablet, or it could be another software system that says, I need to know this information so I can feed it into a chatbot for the telecom, because their chatbots never work right. They always lead you to some stupid question or call the operator. But these systems can't access knowledge. And if systems also can pull pools of knowledge in, then you have, it's true distributed serverless knowledge access services that will come into the web eventually. And it doesn't matter which cloud provider or any of that.
So
but
you
the world
see
is
still
moving
some
in this way.
coexistence.
Without being able to do that, then the whole mobile technology that everyone has and the chatbots that are being built, and who knows, robots and other systems that are being built, they can't live with documents. This knowledge has to be fed.
But we have a very interesting development here, because in the past, tools were always only tools for man, enhancing man. We are now moving to cyborgs. Well, we have chips in your finger, and where you display documents on your hand and do other crazy stuff in the laboratories. And I just want to ask, Greg, you're coming from the US. You have a culture, in the past at least, of hire and fire. Yeah? Do you have the feeling that the perception of work, the value of work, and the importance of the workplace is different between Europe and the US?
Maybe so. I mean, being connected to the Finnish culture has been enlightening experience.
That saves you.
Because
Good argument, yeah?
it's a different experience. I mean, I think the workplace is changing. It's not a place. It's anywhere, really. And in fact, when I started our office in Texas, and it was with a company in Finland, I always say, you can't get much more remote than that, in terms of our working. So we have a very open philosophy about that. And
Maldives would be more remote.
What's that now?
Maldives would be more remote.
Yeah, true. Could have been. But no, so I think that's a really, now one thing that's happening there that's interesting, and we're having to deal with it, is the loss of the cultural value of being together. There is an impact there that is real. I still don't think it outweighs the distributed nature of allowing, because there's other benefits. If you're at home with your family working and you don't have to commute, is that a net positive that you don't get all the social benefits of the work community? So I don't know. I think that's changing pretty dramatically, and I think for a good thing. I mean, it's a funny little story. I'll be sitting there and my wife will go, "Who are you texting?" And I go, "Actually, I won't tell her that I'm writing a white paper with somebody in Finland. She thinks I'm just texting." But no, the idea that you can do that, you can literally...
It's not so dangerous like this.
No, but anyway, I think the workplace is changing dramatically, I think for the better. It is creating some challenges or things we should stay aware of and be attuned to. I like Olaf's statement about what they've done in their offices.
The question is it for the better? And I want to ask, the final statement on this topic goes to Hans, because Hans has put it on a statement slide. Well, we're talking about cultural issues. Work is a social and cultural issue. People define themselves by their work. They're more often at work and at home. Young husbands flee their shrieking babies going to the office, and then they are told, go to your home office. So we really have a lot of changes here, and the real question behind it, do we talk about software? Do we talk about cultural changes? Do we have to redefine what is work? And can you please give an answer to the ethical question, what we do with all this automation?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well,
how much time
quite
do
a
I
bunch.
have? How much time do I have?
2 minutes.
Oh, crikey. I've got about 15 to 20 analysts working about a variety of these problems for a number of hours every single day. So 2 minutes is pushing it. We're coming across a couple of things, and I think many things have already been said. Yes, work is definitely changing. We as humans, the way we act, our definition of social interaction is changing. Has changed and will continue to change. I think we are not yet aware enough of the ethical implications as a purely digital society and what that means for the individuals as well as society as a whole. Because if we lose that social contact, we use also some of our reservations. Because if my colleague is not a real person, but somebody I've only ever seen on a video and lives 5,000 miles away, do I treat him or her differently than if we have coffee every morning at the coffee machine? Those are considerations we haven't really tackled yet. And I think it has nothing to do with the industry we work in or the vendors that we work for or the jobs that we hold. It's a much larger societal problem, which you've only scratched the surface of. And I think, yes, change will continue. We can try to resist change. No, we can try. Yes, we can. Of course we can. We can always try to
Futile.
I said we can try to resist change, but resistance, as we know from the book, is futile. As we get more to grips, as that Generation Z comes more into the workplace, their ways of living will be entered into organizations. And then I as an analyst, vendors will have to figure out not only how do I create a platform, but how do I make a platform in an ethical way so that all the artificial intelligence doesn't just become a liability, but actually becomes a boon to both the individual organization as well as society.
I believe that my profession as a consultant will be going away within the next 15 years. So I'm glad that I can go to holidays and do other stuff.
I would agree.
Dear friends, I would like to discuss with you hours and hours more. I will all of you give the chance on another panel, or probably next year's on DCX Expo, but we wouldn't be complete without the big task at the end, the Kampffmeyer's flashlight. To explain it a little bit to the audience, this flashlight has rules. And the rule is one sentence, meaning 1 point, maximum of 3 comma, and a maximum of 3 end. And I'm counting. And if you do not comply to these rules, that costs you an expensive, a really expensive, single Scottish single malt from single cask, really expensive. So I hope everybody has got the message in before and has thought about his final stage, and Olaf starts.
That's the torture part, I know. So, sorry. I have to answer with 2 film quotes. Never give up, never surrender. The truth is out there.
Right?
I already send you a bottle of single malt, so I'm good. Let me just get my presentation ready. There's something I prepared. Wait, we started. No, seriously, I think put use cases, users, and scenarios in the center, and stop navel gazing about technology.
Good, you made it. Why did you do this rubbish and with paper in before? Murat.
Good, to follow the tradition. We are moving from the area of collecting content, information, to the area of knowing content, information. And we need to be prepared for that.
That was at the Branche, but it is okay. Okay, yeah, was it okay?
Yeah.
It's okay, good. I give you a try, Greg.
Well, semicolon. I would just say that users at the center is key. I think putting that into their control and focusing on value to the business is key.
Good. You made it. Great. I don't get any whiskey this time. Richard, you're the last.
To empower a workforce, you have to free them from documents.
Wow. You can put this on a slide. Thank you very much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed a little bit our final showcase. Those who know my panels will probably remember that in the past we had beer, we had wine on the panel, we had much longer discussions. And what I will try is, next DCX Expo, to be here again, probably with you all, and have something to drink on the tables. Please take my excuses, and thank you very much for accepting that I've been nasty again.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Goodbye.